Surviving Sister Wives contains adult content that may not be suitable for Latter-day Saints or sinners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Sister Wives.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly. And there's no season or episode number this time because we are beginning our journey into Almost Meri'ed, a book by Sam Cooper, the catfish himself.
Themself. It's a mixed bag here. So I think for the episode today, since, we don't have an episode description or a title to go through here because we've already recapped every single episode of Sister Wives in existence. If you're looking for those, most of them are on the public feed too, but everything is over on the Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod. So if you're looking for those other episodes, that's where they live. That's where the full archive is, and you can get access to all those episodes there.
I think we're going to end up revisiting some of those episodes as well because, obviously there's timelines involved here. There are things going on while certain episodes are airing. And I think all of that's going to be an important part of the conversation as we get through this book.
It all comes into play, definitely. Yeah, this is all useful information. And before we jump headfirst into the book itself, we thought it would be useful to kind of take a moment this week to just sort of set the table, as it were, and we'll get all the pieces in place here first. So that way,
very fancy.
We know who the key players are. We know the general timeline of what's happening when. So this way, we're going to just give you a little bit more context before we get right into it.
Yeah. It's going to be like a Titanic kind of table setting by the end of this because there's a lot of pieces. A lot
of silverware.
A lot of people who aren't who they say they are. And just to add a disclaimer to the episode, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Okay. Sure.
Let me restate it. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Oh boy, yeah. It's any similarities to anybody living or dead, it's all coincidence. It's not anything. It's for entertainment purposes.
All right. It's important to talk about the key players. One reason is because Almost Meri'ed is dedicated to two of them.
A few people, are named directly here. Also, it gets to be sort of a web here because a lot of the people are the same person too. So I think of the three, there's two people that the book's dedicated to. One of them is the author who's dedicating it to one of their other personas and then someone else. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit more here, I guess. So where do we start? Samuel Cooper, the author of Almost Meri'ed.
And the person that Mary thought that she was talking to when she was being catfished.
This is her dream boat, you guys. Yeah, this is Mary's guy. We're talking about, at the time, 42-year-old, 6'6" vegan, Australian millionaire.
Just that alone should give it away. Come on.
Was it?
A 6'6" Australian millionaire is interested in you?
Was it Captain Jason from Below Deck Down Under? Was it?
Hey, maybe Heather Gay is your next victim out there. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, she's an empty nester now, too. Don't we know it? From personal experience on the show.
Don't give them ideas for storylines over at Bravo.
I'm just saying. That could be a thing. But also, busy guy, the Samuel Cooper man. 6 businesses that he's the CEO of, and he's a father of 5.
He's got a lot going on.
I guess.
Why did Mary think that he had all this time to talk to her? Is that why most of their conversations that were leaked were just voicemails from Mary to Sam?
It's all missed calls, yeah.
Sam's
He's in
like,
meetings.
I'm busy.
Meetings all day. That's what's going on here. What's crazy, too, is that, okay, this person who Mary repeatedly was like, I'm not going to continue talking to you unless I can meet you in person. And it was always an excuse, always, why can't we just still text? Why can't we still call? I like communicating with you. Why do we have to ruin a good thing by trying to meet in person? And then Mary's like, okay, no, then I'm not going to continue this relationship. That person is still claiming to be real online today, as of time of recording.
You can still find social accounts under Sam Cooper's name.
Yes. That like there's still a claim of legitimacy to this person existing who doesn't exist.
Also, this might have been like during COVID, because I remember when we first started the podcast, I ended up going down a deep rabbit hole with the catfish stuff. A lot of that stuff you really can't access anymore because Sam has made their Twitter private. And then obviously there was like, Twitter becoming X. And I think some stuff like just isn't in an archive anymore for you to access. But Sam had been posting during that time lots of, what I think were most likely fake like charity things, or like help this teacher get to her classroom goal.
Grifts.
Like that was what a lot of that Twitter feed became.
Yes.
And there have been many people who have come out and said that they have been catfished by the person behind this Sam account, whether it was from the Sam account itself or another account that they created with another persona.
Right.
But yeah, still acting like Sam is a real person, and like to the point that they claim that Meri had a physical relationship with them.
Combating what Mary's whole story was of she kept trying to meet in person. This person was not able to meet her in person, so then she cut off contact with them. No, Sam's story is that their relationship was deeply physical, on a banana level.
If you know what we mean.
If
Some
we're
people
getting into
don't
that.
know about
Some people
the
don't know.
banana photo.
There's a lot to get into then.
There are thirst traps. There are desperate voicemails from Meri. The amount of stuff that was leaked by this catfish. It's so much content that I think that was part of the problem. It became too much for people to wade through and kind of navigate their way through the quote unquote truth.
It was overwhelming. Yeah. At that point. So obviously most of the evidence seems to support that Samuel Cooper is not a real person here, along with who's the other questionable character in this storyline. We have Lindsay, who is Sam's personal assistant, and that's who seems to be having more direct contact with people when it comes to this catfish situation. And actually, Lindsay was the one who went to Disneyland with Meri in person.
Well, so that's who Meri thought she was at Disneyland with.
But
obviously, there's not a Lindsay. So
Right.
That was actually the catfish saying, hey, my name is Lindsay. I'm Sam's personal assistant. But that was really Jackie.
Sam really wishes that he could be here today, but he was unavailable, so I'll hang out with you instead.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot around Lindsay because, like you said, Lindsay is really one of the main points of contact for Sam. And it seems like especially as the catfishing stuff started to come out publicly, Lindsay was the face of continuing communication with people, whether that be, reaching out to Kendra,
Who
we're going to talk about quite a bit, who's Robin's friend. Like Lindsay was doing a lot of the communicating and I think trying desperately to keep the catfishing scandal within the narrative that she and Sam wanted out there.
Right. Yes. So Lindsay and Sam both being most likely the same person here. Who is that? Who is the catfish? It's Jackie Overton.
I don't want to talk too much about Jackie because I think that Jackie gets enjoyment from people continuing to talk about what she was able to achieve. But Jackie is the face behind the catfish and is from just a woman from Oklahoma who denies being involved in this at all.
Right.
But there have been multiple instances where phone numbers that were supposedly belonging to Sam have been traced back to this woman, Jackie. It sounds very much like Jackie's voice, the person who's on the phone pretending to be Lindsay and the person pretending to be Sam. So there's a lot of evidence that it is this person who denies that they were the one behind this.
Right. So you might need to do some of your own Googling. There is, not necessarily criminal record with the catfish type stuff, but there are some things to be aware of as far as that search goes too. The more important person that we want to get to as far as the topic of discussion for today is probably going to be Kendra, though, because not a lot of people are fully aware of Kendra, who was a close friend of Robin's. They became friends online. And then she was also a My Sister Wife's Closet business partner. So you remember those amazing designed shirts that Robin had? Those bee shirts? Remember the bee shirts, you guys? Those were Kendra's, manifestation into
of
reality here of Robin's vision. Robin had the design. Kendra said, let me make that a reality here. And she printed those shirts. So
apparently a lot of them.
I guess.
It ends up being a point of contention between the Browns and Kendra later on, supposedly, is that there's some business debts associated with that relationship that Kendra was kind of stiffed by them. Now, I don't know if this story is true. I would really love for you guys who want to be part of the investigation to help look into this, because what I was able to find was an article where there was an anonymous source giving this information. And to be honest, whenever there's a quote unquote snitch or anonymous source, I'm going to assume that it's the catfish.
For everything, for every single source here.
So I'm looking for an interview or an article that was written where Kendra herself gives a statement saying that the Browns owe her money. So if you guys can help us find that, that would be great. Also, we're not clicking any links you send us. So tell me.
Screenshots are good. Screenshots, or tell us what to search for, and then we'll search for it and we'll find it. Basically.
We're on high alert as we talk about the catfish here.
Yeah. So what is the other connection point here? Kendra's involvement, friends with Robin online, business acquaintances through the bee shirts. Also, Kendra was a moderator for a Facebook group at the time about the Browns. It was branded as like a Sister Wives fan page, basically.
And that would just be weird if Robin moderated her own fan page. So instead, she had her friend do it for her, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure Robin was in there, though. She was,
yes.
She was keeping an eye on things, too, at the time.
Now, I think that this is the online group that they were talking about, where they're saying, like, we were all in here chatting, and this is how we came to meet this group of people, meaning Lindsay and the catfish.
They're saying it was, Lindsay was like the point of the introduction to everybody else, basically, as part of the catfish storyline, I suppose, would go.
Now, there's a lot of lore around this Facebook page and how I guess Kendra would like attack people in the comments anytime they said nasty things about the Browns, especially if they were there to shit talk Robin. But if you wanted to spread a rumor about Meri or had something negative to say about Meri, she was all ears.
Maisie is growling and whimpering in her sleep on my lap right now. So if you hear any of that, she's kicking a little bit too. But
we've really lulled her to bed already.
Yeah, she's
fast
zonking out here.
Sleep.
Okay, so it's a great place to spread rumors about anybody else, but not Robin. This is the weird thing with Kendra is Kendra keeps going back and forth depending on like through the years at what point you're interacting with her or seeing an interview from her or something as part of this catfish investigation. What we've noticed is where she will flip and flop because sometimes she's huge advocate supporter of the Brown family. And then you hear something from her directly, not like quotes or misattributions of quotes of other things in a group or something. It's Kendra. She talks out of both sides of her mouth at different points of time, basically. She's either for the Browns or she's against the Browns. She's believing the catfish. She's not believing the catfish. So she's all over the place. And I wouldn't deem her a very reliable narrator when it comes to this stuff. So that's what makes it hard.
Yeah, I think that's something we have to keep in mind whenever we're reviewing anything from Kendra, because there are pretty lengthy interviews that you can see out there with her. There's like a 2-part interview of, I think they're 40 minutes a piece on YouTube, where she's being interviewed by a private investigator.
Twitter hired, like people on Twitter, fans of the show, went out of their way to hire a private investigator to do this. And then also they must have had the stipulation for, please interview her in the worst audio conditions possible, because every single thing that you find about Kendra, it's always like through a phone, through a tin can with a reverberation next to a water fountain. So it's just, like it's
that's
really
like kind of suspicious too, isn't it? In and of itself.
It's not easy to sift through all of this information either, because it's kind of grueling to have to listen to it in the quality that it's captured in sometimes. Now,
her involvement as far as the catfishing goes, again, is going to be a complex web for us to unweave, because she has given many interviews about the Browns and the catfishing. And like you said, like her story changes from time to time. Also, she claims that she was hacked and threatened by the catfish. So there are points in time when she is saying, Sam's a real person. I can vouch that he's a real person. He came to the hospital and visited me while I was sick. Now she claims that the catfish threatened her and made her say that.
You needed to say all that under duress here, too.
Or there were things that she posted online in this Facebook group or from her own personal Facebook where she was saying things related to the catfishing. And now she claims that she was hacked and that those posts didn't actually come from her. So
it's
hard to know what the truth is.
That's tough.
But the thing that does seem to add up from what we've heard from at least the tell-all on season 20 of Sister Wives, and then what we see as we go through all of this information, is that Kendra was the friend who was sharing private information with Robin.
Definitely.
Or Robin was sharing, I think it was going both ways.
I think it was, yeah.
They were comparing notes as to what was going on with this catfishing situation, because Kendra was convinced that Meri was cheating on Cody, that she was having an affair, that Sam was a real person, and thought that the catfishing was just a story Meri made up to try to get out of being in trouble for having cheated on Cody.
She's also the friend who I think she brought Lindsay, the assistant, to Meri's house for an MLM event. So like when Meri was freaking out about, they bugged my house, they have ways of knowing what's going on in a room that I'm in when we're not in the same room, like if they're going through her phone or if they're wiretapping her or if they're whatever. So Meri was very alarmed by all of this. The reason why was because Lindsay had been in Meri's house for an MLM event before. So I think that was probably fueling some of that paranoia that Meri was experiencing at that time as well.
Imagine how scary that would be to realize that someone that you have befriended is not the person that they've presented themselves to be. And now they're threatening you. And it feels like it's very legitimate because they know things that they shouldn't know. And now you're trying to retrace your steps and like figure out how this person has achieved this level of access to you.
Right. Yeah. And how's that information getting back to them? How are they able to access what I'm doing? Turns out her name's Robin. That's the in-between. That's the intermediary. That's the go-between. Unfortunately, is that Robin leaks like a sieve, very much the same way that Cody leaks like a sieve. So, lesson learned.
It's hard to know if the catfish really does know how to, install malware on people's devices or was doing something malicious like that, or if it really just was as old-fashioned as, Kendra asking Robin questions and Robin giving her information, either knowingly or unknowingly, that then was communicated back to the catfish.
That I don't even know. Yeah,
I don't think we'll ever know. But it's it could be as simple as that somebody was just who had a reason to be in your house was sharing information with people versus your house was bugged somehow.
But she took that very seriously. Mary was out in her backyard at one point where she was having a little meltdown. So it gets serious along the way here too. But I think those are the key players, right, that we have established, even though 3 of them are the same person. But just so you guys know, when we're talking about these people, those are the people that we're referencing. That's going to be the majority of this. And then obviously the rest of the people are members of the family, people who from the show extensively. So we'll be able to call that out as well. The other thing we wanted to kind of go through here, at least before we get jumping right in on the book necessarily, was just laying out a general timeline too. So then that way everybody has a pretty good idea, because a lot of this stuff, it coincides with stuff that was going on the show, either things that were airing at the time, and then you can see in the seasons that come after that too, it's well, there were things that were being revealed publicly during the time of that filming that you don't get to see until, the next season or season and a half that passes by, basically.
There's also a lot of stuff that happened in real life that was never shown on the show.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to piece together a timeline where we're putting all that information. And it's a working timeline, if you will, because as we continue to work through the book and our investigation that you guys are helping us with, we'll keep building this out to give us a better picture of exactly what happened.
And then most of the episodes that we're going to be referencing too, we'll link out to those. So we'll include that as part of the post for the description here on this one or something. We'll figure something out to map this out so you guys can go back through that as well. But where did we start? April 2014, I think, was where we kicked off, because this was actually the first time Kendra was on the show, because she owns the shop in San Francisco that the gals go to for the commitment celebration ceremony dresses that they were going to purchase.
Did she own the store, or did she just go shopping with them? I can't remember. She was there.
I thought she was
there
yeah.
in San Francisco with them. So
season 6, episode 15.
Yes. So that's when they're looking for the commitment celebration dresses. And that gives you an idea of how much the family trusted Kendra. So they're hanging out with her. All of them knew who she was. She wasn't just Robin's friend. I guess she was kind of like Robin's friend the way Jen is Mary's friend.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as
she's in everyone else's orbit.
The bonded
via
pair.
The direct friend, who is Robin in this case.
Right.
So if you want to see Kendra, you can check out that episode. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit, because one of the things that's really confusing to people about the catfishing is a lot of people accidentally tie together the divorce and the catfishing. Now, I'm not saying they're not related, because I think that it put Mary in an emotional state that set her up to be catfished. But there's sometimes a theory that floats around in the fandom that Mary maybe already had met the catfish and decided to get divorced from Cody to free herself up to run off with the catfish one day.
Right, it fueled the legal divorce, because that was just another way for her to be out of her marriage legally then with Cody as well. So, yeah, I think it's worth calling that out. I mean, Mary obviously makes it abundantly clear that her emotional state was very much based on, the vulnerability and the loneliness and the isolation that she was experiencing was primarily because of the legal divorce with Cody. And then she thought things were going to improve with their relationship. It did not. It did not get better. And things actually got worse. And then that was when she became susceptible to these interactions with these strangers online.
Mm-hmm. Well, they get divorced officially in the fall of 2014. and she doesn't start getting catfished until the spring. So there's like about 6 months between the time that the divorce actually is finalized and she meets Sam.
Right.
And that's according to Sam as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been consistent on both sides of the story, is when they started talking to each other.
So mostly just for clarification. Yeah. So September 2014, Cody and Meri, the divorce papers, that's season 8, episode 7. And then December 2014, Robin and Cody legally marry that December. And that's in season 9, episode 1.
And I think if you go back and watch those episodes, what you see in Meri is that she's just like completely deflated by this situation. She really thought that getting divorced from Cody to create this avenue for him to be able to marry Robin and then adopt the kids was going to, by proxy, help her relationship with him.
Well, that, and then also remember too, it was very much a Robin, Cody, and Meri idea for the divorce, the legal divorce. And that was a big push for that. And then when it came time for Robin and Cody to legally marry, they did not include Meri in that process. And then that just felt like, oh no, it's the isolation is beginning here.
They pushed her out of the whole thing.
They did. They absolutely did. So to bypass that as part of it and to say, oh, we didn't want to make it special, we didn't want to make it a memorable date for anybody.
Except I'm also going to frame my marriage certificate and hang it up on the wall.
Yeah, well, that's different, I guess.
A date that I don't want anyone to remember, just a paperwork shuffle.
Date that lives in infamy, yes, of course.
Is that something that people do?
No, we don't.
Frame their marriage certificate? I just feel like that's something that goes in like a fire safe, like waterproof box.
Yeah, you shouldn't have it on a wall somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't seem like it.
Maybe she
not.
got multiple copies.
Maybe, yeah. Very well could be. So then that leads us into, what is this, March 2015. So just a couple months later, season 8 finale aired on March 1st, 2015. So that was season 8, episode 7. That was Meri and Cody's legal divorce. That was the episode that was airing for that. And that is right around the time when Meri begins flirting with Sam on Twitter.
Now, I remember reading what they were saying to each other when you used to be able to pull up all of the tweets. And if I'm remembering correctly, he was saying things to her about that episode.
Right. Specifically about the divorce episode.
Yeah. Now, is this the first interaction that Meri and Sam ever had? I think that we're not completely clear on that, because it sounds like it's also possible that they had been introduced to each other via that Facebook group. But they started talking in what was a public forum because both of their accounts were completely public. Mm-hmm. And they were flirting back and forth with each other on Twitter. And people took notice of that, including Kendra.
Okay, yes. So this is where Kendra has a few different interviews that we sifted through. And so in some of that testimony is her recollection to spring of 2015, right around that time. And she remembers visiting the Browns in Las Vegas, and she confronted Meri about these inappropriate interactions with Sam online.
This came from part 1 of that YouTube interview with the private investigator. And in it, she's talking about how she was on this trip visiting the Browns, and Meri was, again, very reclusive, that she was sitting in the corner on her phone the whole time. She wasn't really engaging with people. She actually weirdly uses a lot of the same language that Robin uses to explain how Meri's behavior was off when they ultimately revealed the whole catfishing.
Honestly, when you were describing it too, it sounded like Cody at Christine's house when she was ready to divorce him.
It did.
That's what it sounded like to me. That's
Maybe Cody was also catfished. Who knows?
Maybe
he was talking to someone online.
Could have been.
Yeah,
it was Robin.
When he just sat in that leather chair in the corner the whole time.
Yeah. Didn't contribute anything and would just, wait to eat some food, maybe watch a movie, and then go to sleep.
You see that play out on the show, though, where Mary is just being really weird at family gatherings. And everybody's like, I don't know what her problem is. It could just be that Mary's annoyed with us and not telling us what it is. Or, Mary's in her feels, and this is just how she gets when there's something that she wants us to take notice of.
It's so hard to tell. It's so hard to tell
and
with Mary.
To be honest, we don't really even want to ask because that's just giving her what she wants. So I think some of that really fueled.
That sounded like Janelle's internal monologue. Yeah, that whole train of thought right there. That sounded like Janelle being like, you know what? I'm not even going to feed into it. I don't want to ask her about it. I don't want to know about it.
So oh my gosh, I was going to say Mary, Lindsay, Kendra's version of events is that she went over to Mary's house. She was like, hey, can we talk privately? I want to just catch up with you about what's been going on. And that during this conversation, she tells Mary, look, I know what you've been doing because you're not doing it in secret. You're out here talking to this guy online. I see it. People in this group see it and have talked about it. And from what I know, Robin has told me you've been very unhappy with Cody for a very long time. Robin tells me everything.
Robin knows things, and she shares that information willingly, unfortunately for you, Mary. So now Mary's probably getting a little nervous about, she knows the exchanges that she's been having with this person. She probably knows they're inappropriate. Other people are coming around to that idea and becoming aware of that. The walls might be closing in a little bit here. She starts freaking out, getting a little more paranoid. This is about that time in the episodes, in the series, season 9, episode 8, when Mary just randomly loses 30 pounds in 6 weeks because she's freaking out about stuff. And people thought maybe this was when the catfish was threatening her, or when this, was ramping up as far as the interactions with the catfish. But it seemed like it might have been part of that confrontation that Kendra had, where she was letting Mary know, hey, I know what's going on here.
Yeah, I think that it came across like maybe she was making herself sick from being blackmailed by this person. But this really happened early on in the relationship. So maybe it was the stress and pressure of trying to keep this a secret. Maybe it was related to, I believe that she was subjected to a lot of emotional abuse by the catfish as well. If you listen to the voicemails that were leaked, that are all recordings of her messages that she left for him, or her, whatever, the catfish, Sam, who she thought she was talking to. It's a lot of her begging him to pick up the phone and talk to her.
Right.
So I think she was also making herself sick because there was so much back and forth on the roller coaster of this relationship.
We'll probably have to do an entire episode just about the voicemails, guys. There's going to be things that we'll cover as part of this journey here, where we're going to need to do deep dives into specific stuff like that. So we'll be working on that in the background as well.
I also think that time period, that visit when Kendra was there in the spring, was when Lindsay was in their house for that MLM event.
Right. Yeah. So that might have been another reason to be a little bit nervous. Because usually when Mary was interacting with Sam would always warn her that he has a friend who's very tech savvy and you don't want to get her upset. You don't want to do these things because she'll do stuff to get back at you. And
she's vindictive, and
it was all the warnings.
She's here to defend me.
Yeah. It was all the warnings that Sam was connected to. And it seemed like that was Lindsay, was who he was implying in most of that. So now Lindsay has been in Mary's house. So that's probably all staying very top of mind for her.
Yeah, the other funny thing about that MLM event that's related to all of this is that supposedly Lindsay was there representing Sam because Sam was maybe interested in making a very large, not contribution,
sizable
investment.
Investment.
Can you call it an investment when it's an MLM that you're dumping money into?
Because then wouldn't he just be... You would be in his downline, or I don't know how that would work.
So this is the MLM that Cody and Mary were part of, that Live Water thing.
Yeah.
That I think she still does to this day.
I don't know.
It was, I think that's the MLM that he got one of the cars from.
Right. Okay.
But that makes you wonder, did Cody know of Sam just to the extent that there was this very wealthy investor who was interested in their MLM business?
Probably not.
You don't think so?
I don't think Cody was checking in on those meetings very much. I think he was just waiting for the...
He was telling Meri, always be closing.
No, I think he was waiting for the deposits to hit, and then he would just withdraw them. And that was his main motivation for start and end to the interactions with that business, was in the bank account. Yeah.
So Meri is like deep in being catfished at this point. She is totally in love with this fake person. She's leaving him messages telling him how great he is, how much she loves him, wants to be with him. And at the same time, this is when Robin is pregnant and has Meri announce her pregnancy with Ari for her.
Yeah. So that was, if you don't remember, it was season 9, episode 8. So that coincides with the timeline here to place us where that is. And then that is right in that same span too, because I think it's the next episode, season 9, episode 9, is when Dayton, Roar, and Brianna are legally adopted by Cody. So that goes through. So it's all right in this same time frame here of June of 2015.
Yeah. I think something that we need to kind of keep in mind, because I know there's going to be a big conversation around, did Meri cheat on Cody? Like, was this an affair? Or do you not call it an affair because of the fact that she was being catfished?
You know, like, okay, so I think the thing that we're frustrated with, though, I'll speak for both of us on this, is that Meri did not take accountability for her involvement in it. Because the things that she is saying in the voicemails, the love that she's professing for this person, if Sam had been real, she would have run away with him. I think that's what we're getting to, right?
Well, it's like, what was your intention? Because you didn't think that you were being tricked by somebody. You thought that this was a real person.
You thought it was real.
And you thought you were engaging in a real relationship with them.
And then when it turned out that wasn't the case, that's not true, now you're being emotionally manipulated. Now you're being blackmailed because you have all of these embarrassing interactions with this person who didn't exist. So on that level, yes, you do become a victim. You are being exploited. So I do have sympathy for that side of it. But keeping in mind that the initial stages of it there, we're still skipping over that level of responsibility where Meri was involved in an inappropriate relationship with someone online who was not part of her marriage. And that's what got her into this trouble.
Yes, and I think the thing that is not really for us to say, though, is that the people who are in a relationship together need to be on the same page about what they consider cheating to be.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's what people will point at here is where it's, well, Cody gets to go be with other wives. Okay, but that's what they all agreed to.
Right.
That's living polygamy.
They're aware of the arrangement of that relationship, and they're all willingly participating in it.
Yes.
Whereas Cody was not aware that, well, I don't know, he may have been aware that she was talking to somebody, but he didn't agree to have Meri pursue a relationship on the side from his.
And he's made it abundantly clear about his stance on the vulgarity of that. Yeah. And how sickening that is of thinking about Meri with another person, another man.
The reason I included Robin having Meri announce Robin's pregnancy in the timeline is because I think that as we're considering all of this, we have to think about the emotional state that Meri's in. So she's coming off of getting divorced, and a lot of the conversation that was happening online at the time, people thought that their relationship was really in the gutter and that's why they got divorced. That was when a lot of the audience too was, again, like very uncomfortable with the concept of Robin becoming the legal wife now and feeling like Robin came in and destroyed this family. And look, she's taking over Meri's position. And, Leon's going to school and Mary's like, I don't know who I am anymore if I don't have a kid to take care of at home.
The empty nest, just all of the identity crisis that Mary was kind of going through at this time.
And then, announcing someone else's pregnancy for them when you yourself have battled infertility, I would imagine would be a very emotional experience. And then in the middle of that, that you're hiding a relationship from everybody else.
Right.
So she's going through quite a bit during this period of time.
There's a few layers in here,
yeah,
definitely, that make things a little bit more complicated.
Also, I feel like you can disagree with somebody's behavior, but still find empathy for how they got themselves to that place.
Right. See, for me, it's still, I just wish that she would have some accountability as far as the involvement that got her there, because it was very quick to, especially even in what we saw in the series, was where it was like, I got tricked. I, didn't know what was happening until it was too late.
I could trust someone. And
I thought that I'm
the victim, which is, Cody's issue with it to this day is he feels like she has a victim mentality when it comes to the catfishing.
Well, and I think it's like, because she was victimized by this in the experience, and she absolutely was. But I think using that to then steer all accountability away from herself too, that's the part that I still struggle with.
I mean, would anybody here really blame her if she had been honest about the fact that her relationship with Cody was already in a bad place before they got divorced? She was hoping that making that sacrifice for the family was going to improve it.
It didn't.
And part of that is because Cody had made comments to her about how she needed to put the family first over her own feelings.
Right.
And so she tries to make this grand gesture to show him that she is able to do that and put herself aside for the betterment of the family. And then he basically ghosts her. It sounds like that's what happened.
Yeah, like she's mentioned multiple times throughout the series that like it was good for a few weeks, maybe a month after the legal adoption, and then Cody stopped coming around again. So whatever that time frame looks like too, it plays into some of this as well. Maybe some of these decisions that were being made, because June of 2015, end of June, Mary's going to Disneyland. She was supposed to meet up with Sam, but instead, Lindsay arrives and has to apologize that Sam wasn't able to join in person, but I'll be accompanying you around Disneyland here.
So this is how Mary ends up spending the day with the catfish, and that's why there are pictures of Jackie as Lindsay and Mary in Disneyland together.
Right.
Now, that trip has fueled a lot of speculation that maybe Mary did know who the catfish was. Maybe Mary has made this all up because she was in a relationship with a woman and didn't want people to know.
So that's all very speculative, though.
No, yeah. I want to acknowledge that that's been
it's a theory,
been another big theory that's
very
been out
speculative, and there hasn't been too much else to like contribute to the validity of that theory, I don't think, based on the other findings that we have to go through as well.
And it wouldn't be so weird for her to be there and end up spending the day with someone that she thinks is Lindsay, when this whole time she has been having correspondence with Lindsay.
Because people thought that was strange to say, oh, you were supposed to meet with Sam. So if Lindsay shows up, if Lindsay shows up and says, oops, sorry, Sam couldn't make it, most people, I think at that point would be like, okay, yeah, no thanks. Then I was here to meet up with Sam. But like, this just goes to show how tightly woven those conversations are, because Jackie, the catfish, is utilizing these different characters to kind of fuel this attachment that Mary has. Because you even see that there's a few of the conversations that Kendra has on camera too, where she calls I think it was supposed to be Lindsay technically. And that through that conversation then too, it was, oh, well, can you have Sam call me to reassure me about this, that, and the other? So it was like different things where Lindsay will talk to you about something and tell you what Sam thinks and what Sam has going on. And then Sam will call you afterwards and then confirm all those things. And it just, it adds validity.
There's an entire social circle that you think that you're interacting with that is all by creation of the catfish to reinforce whatever narrative it is they want to push forward with you.
Yes.
And then you think that that's someone else who's a completely independent person who is telling
validating,
you stuff. Yes.
the information that you received from another source, but it's all coming from the same source. So that's the problem here, is that there is no verification process of where that information is originating and then who's doing the corroborating, because that's all happening through the same channel. And then it just gets really messy after that.
I think if you look at that trip to Disney alone without that other context, it does seem like, wouldn't that be your point in time when you realize that this is probably all a farce?
To really question. Yeah, like to really do some questioning about like what's going on here. Yeah, what am I actually involved in?
But they have built such a convincing web that Mary thinks that she's just out there with somebody who has a reason to be there.
And at this point, too, this is around the same time where, like, Mary's leaving Sam voicemails still. Like, that trip at Disneyland was, what was that, June 25th?
I think that it happened on June 25th.
Ish.
And the reason why is there's a voicemail that Mary leaves for the catfish where she's like, I'm headed your way. And she's, like, all excited about how she's going to be seeing him.
Coming to see you.
And I believe, if I recall correctly, that the catfish has tried to use that voicemail to say, like, hey, see, we did meet up in person, but just because she says she's going to meet him doesn't mean she ever did.
Right, because then when you arrive and then, oh, Sam couldn't be here, sorry, it's just Lindsay, she thought she was going to meet with Sam, but then she didn't.
Also, that voicemail that she leaves on the 30th, so 5 days later, I think that one is suspicious because she's trying to get back into Sam's good graces on that voicemail, where she is comparing him to Cody and talking about how much more amazing he is to Cody, that Cody doesn't add up at all, just pales in comparison. A very embarrassing voicemail if you're Cody.
Well, and if you're Mary.
Which is why it's one of the most famous ones.
Yeah. Big reception there.
Infamous ones, I should say. But the pattern of that where the catfish has done something that should upset Mary, not showing up at that visit to Disney.
Yes.
And then you put that person back into a panic by probably starting a fight with them or creating some type of volatile emotional experience where then Mary is back trying to beg you for your forgiveness and tell you how great you are. It's a psychological game that's being played here, and that's why I think those two things are related.
Yeah, definitely. And it coincides with a lot of the things that were lining up as far as the scheduling, as far as the voicemail, as far as the photos that were published at certain times or whatever. So it's just the different combination of all of those things. So that leads us into August of 2015, where this is an infamous episode of Sister Wives, where it's the Brown family trip to Alaska. So that's season 9, episode 12. And we're thinking that this is probably the time, because Mary has talked about like these different points of discovery that she's had throughout the catfish process. Because when we get to that Brown family trip where Mary is trying to tell the family what's going on here, because it seems like at this point she has pretty much realized this is a catfishing situation and I need to tell the family about this. This coincides with other stories that she's told throughout the series of how she came to that conclusion, because there was a postcard or something.
A poster or a postcard or something. She saw an image of one of the actors in the show Pan Am and realized that it was the same person that is in Sam's profile pictures.
Yeah, so that's an actor. That's that's somebody who that's not this guy, right? Like this is an actor who you're able to go see, actor model who's doing other work, and they're doing different things. They're not running 6 businesses and raising 5 kids.
No,
though.
they're not the millionaire Australian vegan that they claim to be online.
No.
Now, she said that she saw that while she was in an airport gift shop. And that's what makes me think it happened when they were leaving to go on this trip. Because Meri is freaked out the whole time that they're in Alaska. She's acting really, really weird. And obviously that leads up to the dinner that they have at the conclusion of that episode where she's telling them she doesn't know what's going on, but something bad's happening and that she may just disappear for a while and don't be surprised if I'm gone. And it's all very cryptic. And I think that if you look back at it with that lens, that it seems like maybe she really has no idea exactly what she's gotten herself into yet.
Yeah, like it seems like that was more of the panic element of it, where that was such a frustrating conversation to watch because she's not saying anything in that conversation. She's being so vague, and nobody's asking direct questions either because they're just like, what, Meri, you're going to go away for a little while? Okay, if that's how you want us to support you, is to just let you go, then you let us know when you're going to be back, I guess, or whatever. Like there's not a lot of concern from the rest of the family as far as the things that she's saying. They feign
concern in their confessionals.
Well, and they also...
But they're in person at the dinner. They're kind of just annoyed with her.
Well, because like at that point too, it's like they can't combat it. They don't want to combat it because then if you're telling Meri, no, Meri, don't leave. We want you to stay here. Then Mary's going to see that as you're being smothering and you're not letting her do what she wants to do or whatever. So everybody's got their fine tightrope that they're trying to walk here and figure out what's happening. But I think for Meri in that process, she was kind of coming to that realization, basically that seeing that photo in the airport for her was like the beginning of there's a lot of other holes in these stories and like questions that Sam can't answer or things that she starts looking into at that time where then she's realizing, he doesn't have these businesses. He doesn't have that house in Las Vegas that he says that he owns. It's not in his name. That doesn't exist. That's not real. So she's finding all of these lies where then she's realizing, I've been tricked. I've been duped. And this is way bigger than anything I was prepared to deal with on a trip to Alaska, probably.
Yeah. So that trip was at the beginning of August. And the next few weeks she spends trying to dig that information up about Sam. And she's trying to get Sam to answer questions for her. And ultimately she tells him, you need to meet me in person. And if you do not meet me in person, that is the end of this relationship. And the catfish says that their last conversation was August 23rd, and then they never spoke to each other again.
Because it was a failed meetup again that happened, where then the catfish is still trying to say, well, can we just keep texting? Can you call me so we can talk through this? But Meri has drawn the line in the sand. If we're not meeting up in person, we're not communicating any further here.
So really, this relationship takes place between March of 2015 and August. And that's really the end of the relationship between them. But that's when all of the blackmailing and the leaks and everything that involved the catfish exposing the story in the family, that's when that all starts to come out.
Right. And then this is the point too. What's interesting is where the catfish is losing Meri, right? Where she's saying, hey, if you're not going to corroborate this stuff, if you can't prove to me who you are, we're done. We're through. And this is when the catfish really latches onto Kendra. And that's when Kendra becomes a very important information source for the catfish to then utilize and try to manipulate to get Meri back into the funnel here, so to speak.
Yeah, Kendra mentioned that the catfish started kind of pushing her to try to get information for them. And my assumption is that that's because they didn't have direct communication with Meri anymore.
Yeah.
And so that could be part of, what we saw in the tell-all, where they're talking about how the catfish knew information that they shouldn't know. And I think that's all happening during this time period where Kendra is digging for information either through Robin or however else she's trying to get it, and then possibly relay it back to the catfish.
Right. So then leading into September of 2015, Meri finally confides in Robin on that Labor Day weekend, because that was like a parents' thing for Hunter's military.
His Air Force Academy.
Air Force Academy was doing like a parents' weekend or something. And Meri finally breaks down and pulls Robin aside in the hotel room and tells her everything of what's going on here about the entire catfish situation.
Okay, so here's where we can talk a little bit about Robin, because people have questioned, did Robin know what was going on the entire time? Was Robin knowingly involved in catfishing Meri? I'm not so sure.
Like and that being her close friendship with Kendra, like, was that the element where it was at the behest of Robin to then push this sort of relationship further than it should have gone, and just having it go that route? I think from Robin's side of things and her friendship with Kendra, is that what was like the catalyst for this?
The episode where they talk more in depth about the catfishing is season 10, episode 1. So that's the season premiere, obviously coming off of the weird conversation
in Alaska.
So
that didn't work. Yeah, no. That was very vague. And Meri has to finally explain, what did she mean by that?
Now, in that episode, Robin says she was shocked that Meri was being catfished, but she was also relieved. And I'm wondering if that's because Robin believed Kendra's narrative that Meri had been having an affair. And if Meri was really being catfished, then maybe this wasn't Robin's worst nightmare, which was that Meri was actively involved in an affair that was like going well for her and that she was going to leave the family.
Yeah, so it did seem like Robin wasn't fully clued in on that. Could that be an act? Is she pretending to be? Usually Robin's not that great of an actress from our experience. So it seems like maybe she did think that Meri was having an affair and then was more relieved to find out about the catfish situation instead.
Which, again, was Meri having an affair and being catfished? I think two things can be true at once.
Could be, yeah.
But the family, for some reason, views it in these two separate camps of either Meri was engaged in an affair or she was being fooled by someone, and for some reason that gives her a pass.
Well, that's where it's like, this is met with, it's the complete absolution of Meri's involvement in this because I got tricked. I'm a victim of this. And that's where, for season 10, episode 1, that's when Cody's very protective of this. They bring Nancy in. They have a whole family therapy session where everybody's very concerned about Meri's well-being. Meri is not completely fully honest in this conversation, though. Like, that's a big problem that happens from this, is that she doesn't fully divulge all of her involvement. And what were those conversations like? And why were you so invested in this person, Meri?
She's still trying to cover up what's going on here.
She's trying to cover up.
And I think she's digging herself a deeper hole because ultimately the catfish starts producing receipts. And it's a bunch of stuff that I don't think Meri ever expected was going to become publicly known.
Mm-mm.
And it looks really, really, really bad for her.
Really bad. Yeah. So like the timeline here though. So like those are the things that we're talking about that are happening at that time are season 10 stuff. Season 9 is premiering though in September of 2015. So they're filming the stuff for season 10, but that hasn't aired yet. So there is the gap. We're all very familiar with the time delays that happen
Yes.
with Sister Wives. Good Lord.
Now, one of the reasons I included that in the timeline is I've noticed a pattern that whenever there's a season premiere or a season finale, the catfish would release something or make a big announcement that would then get picked up by, tabloids or magazines and things that covered websites that covered Sister Wives, because Sister Wives is super relevant at that moment. Because this is also when Maddie and Caleb got engaged and it was like announced by People magazine.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of publicity, and I'm sure what the Browns feel like is positive publicity that they would like to be the thing that's in headlines. But then the catfish starts releasing those private voicemails from Meri, which there are 194 of.
There's a couple for you to go through. Yeah.
And private photos, including the infamous banana photo where Meri is sticking a banana in her mouth for the purposes of
to fellate
demonstrating fellatio.
To fellate it.
Yes.
Yes, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was September of 2015. A lot happened in September of 2015. No kidding. For October of 2015, there's an official statement on October 5th that Meri releases via people.com. She
obviously has to address this now because the voicemails and the photos have come out.
It's very obvious of what's going on. So now she's explaining it again, still explaining it as catfished. I was catfished. But we're still not taking the responsibility of it was inappropriate. Like the extent of our relationship was inappropriate though. So I think that's still the missing piece here.
Do you want to read the whole statement? It's not that long.
Oh boy.
It's if you open the People magazine link, it's in there.
I'll see if it opens.
Yeah, it may or may not. But obviously, do you give credit when you basically had to be backed into a corner with this person revealing, you're going to have to close that before it. Oh, good. It was muted.
Yeah, it's muted.
Sorry guys. We have things, a
million
that are
popping up
pop-ups
it's
on people.com.
Where is this thing?
Here, go down. During an emotional and vulnerable time earlier this year, I began speaking with someone online who turned out to not be who they said they were, Meri said in an exclusive statement to People magazine.
Another pop-up. Here, hold on. Oh, God.
At least it was a true crime pop-up, so yeah. It was relevant. I never met this person, and I regret being drawn into this situation, but I hope because of it, I can help others who find themselves in similar circumstances.
So again, it's trying to just say, oh, I got tricked. I was pulled into this against my will. And, so that sort of side of it to go hands off on the responsibility bothers me.
Well,
right.
I've been thinking about this a lot because I cannot recall what we watched on Amazon Prime. I know we covered Rom-Con, which is all about Jason Porter and, it wasn't about catfishing. He pretended to be someone that he wasn't, but this person did actually meet.
He was kind of catfish. It was conning. Yeah, he was conning.
A con.
Yeah.
There's also a romance con series that I swear we started at one point where we watched it was one or two episodes.
Revenge Con, because I think it was catching people who were doing those sorts of romance cons.
I feel like it was that I'm remembering.
Maybe.
But they go pretty in depth into the psychological state of people who are being catfished and how good these manipulative people are at identifying a person who's at a really low place in their life and is just desperate for human connection and understanding. And so I have a hard time when we kind of place a lot of blame on Meri because this person who did this to her is a predator who is specifically looking for somebody who is in a desperate circumstance. But you're right, in a statement where you say, I was talking to someone online, that's not really
it's not the full story.
The full story.
Not the full story.
Yeah.
And not to say, because again, I will also go the other side of my own argument too, of saying Meri wouldn't have been in that vulnerable state had Cody and the rest of the family not basically emotionally abandoned her in a lot of different ways too. So like, yes, I can see that side of it too. I understand that element. But also, even if you're vulnerable, even if you're like all these different things, there's different ways that you can navigate that or should navigate that. Like if it's not being addressed in your relationship and it's not being fixed because you thought that, oh, a legal divorce so that Cody can adopt Robin's kids, that'll fix it. And it didn't. And now you don't know what to do with yourself. Like, yeah, that's a problem, you know, like, but it doesn't give you a pass then to say, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to go, you know, find a dude online who's going to treat me better, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And then like, you know, deep throat bananas for him or whatever. Like that, you know, that doesn't really match up as far as like, I don't see the linear connection between saying that position that you find yourself in leads to, okay, I'm good to do this now.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
From the validation side of things.
I'm thinking about this statement too, and I feel like we're, again, placing a lot of the accountability on Meri for those words, but this is a family who had representation and like an agent. So I'm guessing that statement was written with the help of somebody. And the Browns' main concern this is something via Kendra, I believe, was that they were worried about losing the show. That this would be a huge scandal, that TLC wouldn't be interested in filming them anymore because it ruins the way they presented themselves to the world as being this happy family, even though, I think all of us saw that there were a lot of cracks.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, because I think that was what Kendra had brought up multiple times, was where it was like, oh, this is proof that Cody loves his wives. And it's like she would go back and forth between, it was either sometimes she would be like, yeah, the show needs to be canceled. Because I think that was what the Catfish wanted. That was their goal, was to get the show canceled.
That's where I was going with this. I do think that was part of this, was not only to publicly embarrass them, but I guess to prove that to themselves that they're so good at this that they could get an entire show canceled from television.
But that's not even, like, you've made a scandal. Now people are interested. Now people are watching to figure out what's going on. If anything, you're prolonging the show. They're still talking about it 10 years later on the show. On the show. So, like, I don't think that was what it was. And then if the Catfish is the person who keeps saying that the ratings are bad every season, if anybody says that the ratings of Sister Wives is bad, you're repeating Catfish nonsense, because that was something that Lindsay was telling Kendra in one of those calls too.
Oh yeah,
how the ratings are so bad and the advertisers don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that works.
That's really, a lot of that is not how that works.
So you don't know what you're talking about. You're making stuff up, and then if you can show me the stats for the ratings that are dropped, but that was not possible because the ratings were not down during the Catfish seasons.
No, unfortunately for Meri, the ratings went up, and that was embarrassing because people were interested in seeing what happened to her.
Of course.
Now, so that statement was released on October 5th, 2015. A few days later, In Touch Weekly sends somebody to Jackie's home in Oklahoma because they have pieced together that the person behind the Sam Cooper account is this woman, Jackie. And Jackie gives them the name, a fake name, which is some type of athlete, a cheerleader or something. It's not even a name that you could then Google and like maybe nothing would come up.
Regina
like
Phalange.
It's associated with someone. Regina Phalange.
It's Regina Phalange.
And a few hours later, the Sam Cooper phone number and one of his business websites is disabled and no longer able to be accessed or called.
Oops. Yeah.
So that's pretty suspicious.
Little suspicious, to say the least here.
Now, I wonder if Jackie never anticipated that this type of attention would be drawn to her.
Right.
That you have a reporter from In Touch Weekly showing up at your home.
Yeah, and then October ended up being a pretty rough month for Jackie.
So Jackie also had some outstanding warrants for some traffic violations and ended up getting arrested.
So that was end of October, October 21st, 2015. It was a rough month for Jackie. This is where, coinciding with the show then, so like the season 9 finale, which was Mary's conversation attempting to tell everybody what happened. So that rough conversation.
Mary catfished.
Mary catfished
is the episode. Now, this is super embarrassing because this is airing just a couple weeks after the catfish has dumped all of this stuff online.
Right.
And Mary did not get into those kind of details in that episode back when they filmed it.
No.
So that's only going to further propel this story to continue to be in the news because now we're getting Mary's version of events that are airing on the show. And those aren't really matching up with what we're seeing from the catfish's evidence of the voicemails and the pictures.
Do we think that production went back and like took some stuff out, left it intentionally a little bit more vague than it probably was as part of that conversation, perhaps?
Okay, this is something I've been thinking about. Does a show like Sister Wives, does TLC, the network, want to be associated with accusing somebody of having done something like this, right? Because Mary's fine to be out there saying, this is who I believed catfished me.
Yeah.
This is who that person truly is. Here's other things that this person has done to other people. But does a network want to back up Mary and put that stuff on TV and open themselves up to possibly being, I don't know, embroiled in a legal case where maybe they're having defamed someone?
Yeah, it's something that you don't want to get involved in as a production company, as part of the show or anything like that. So it could have been they went back and tweaked some of that because at the time, too, we don't know how Mary was talking about it directly with the family at that dinner in Alaska because she could have still been under the impression that this stuff won't get out. This is, I'm in a confusing situation. People are taking advantage of me. Whatever the angles that she wanted to spin at that time, it was just kind of however she was addressing it. She was being incredibly vague, though, as we know. And so maybe they were able to just piece that together and keep it very vague. So then that way there's not this direct claim that we have to kind of encounter here, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it can be a combination of both. It could be that the family circled the wagons, as Cody put it, tried to come up with a palatable story. And it could be that the network and production didn't really dig for the details because they don't want to be part of airing something like that against somebody, accusing somebody of doing something like this.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's part of the mystery, guys, that we're trying to solve here.
It's tough to tell. So that was season 9 finale, aired in November of 2015. And then that gets us to December of 2015. This is when Sam makes an announcement for writing this book, Almost Married.
Sam the catfish, who's not a real person, is going to self-publish a book about this affair with Mary.
Correct. Yes. And while that's happening in real time, thinking about what's being filmed for season 10, Mary and Leon are getting into a whole debacle as well because they're talking through the catfishing experience when Mary goes to Lehigh and visits Leon at school. So that would be season 10, episode 5.
That's the trip where Mary brings Brianna with her because she knows that Leon is not really interested in having a visit. Leon's not going to be
receptive. Yeah, Leon's not going to be receptive to this. And then they take Mosby to the park and have a whole catfish conversation.
Yeah, I thought that was important to include here because it gives you an idea of, first of all, how fast this all happened. This was March to December. And then we had all of this stuff come out that's super embarrassing. You have your mom, taking sexy photos in the bathtub for this person, and all of that's being dumped online, and you're in college. And a few months later, she's like, aren't you over it?
Yeah, you forgive me yet for this thing? So, Mary's really...
Not really.
Really rushing through the apology timeline here, definitely.
I'm hoping that as we get through this, we can talk a little bit more about Leon as well, because Leon was deeply involved in the catfishing against their own will, because they were home with Meri over that summer where Mary's really in the thick of it, in love with this catfish and trying to meet with them in person.
Yeah. Oh, there was another really good episode too. I don't know if we jotted this one down, but I was thinking of the one where Cody went to talk to Leon and was like, you really need to forgive your mom on this whole catfishing thing. And Leon's like, you don't know the half of what took place that summer. Mom was doing stuff she should not have been doing, sir. So I think that was the other part. I think that was 11-2, maybe?
Yeah, I'm interested when
Around
we go
there.
back and watch that episode if we see anything that gives us an idea of when that conversation took place, because I want to figure out where it fits in this puzzle of the catfish producing all of the receipts.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there's a marked difference in Cody at some point, where first he was very forgiving of Meri towards this because all he had was Mary's version of the story. And then stuff comes out that embarrasses him personally. It's a lot of the stuff that she says on those voicemails. Obviously, the pictures that prove that your wife was interested in having a physical affair with somebody. And you can kind of tell that Cody has a change of heart about how he feels about the catfishing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think that's maybe where we put a pin in it for now, because we got to the announcement of Almost Meri. Oh, I guess we could talk about when it was published, right? So it was published, I think it's in 2017.
It took about a year, because it was January 12th of 2017 is when the book is published. So throughout 2016, we'll kind of get into that a little bit more as we do our deeper dives here.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the book, since that kind of lands us at January 2017. We'll kind of figure out what that looks like here. And we'll keep the pieces going together as well throughout the series of when things aired. And we'll reference back to the timeline here as needed.
And we are by no means an authority on this. So if you think that there's something that we missed in the timeline, or you have other information that you think is important that we need to plug in, let us know, because we're going to keep developing this and working on it as we go through the book and continuing the investigation, because there's a lot to this and we're trying to figure out exactly what happened.
Again, don't buy the book. It's probably not available at a library because it's self-published. It's PDFs that are floating around online. So
we're going to start the book next week in our next episode, and you do not need to go find it.
No, don't worry about that.
Do not give the catfish any money. Like you said, I don't think you could even buy it anymore because it's been reported so many times. There are people who have read it on other podcasts. There are people who have read it on YouTube. So if you're interested in getting into that level of involvement with the book, you can find it other places.
Right. Yeah, don't run the risk of trying to do that. And we'll keep you clued in on the important stuff as we go through it there too. But just wanted to get the framework laid out here, key players, most of the timeline as needed here, and then we'll jump in with the book starting next week.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.